Furniture is getting more expensive because the cost of wood chip and MDF is rising fast. The price of wood chip has gone up by half in the last 18 months alone. Manufacturers are meeting to talk about it today. They're blaming green subsidies, which have led to wood being burned as biomass to generate electricity. And they're warning that the upward price pressure will continue because 3 large wood-burning electricity generators will open up in the UK in the next couple of years.
We have 2 manufacturing sites in the UK, one based in the northeast of England, near Newcastle, and one in East Ayrshire, southeast Scotland. Primarily, we're a chipboard manufacturer, producing about 1 million cubic metres a year of chipboard, which goes predominantly into the construction industry and into the furniture manufacturing industry here in the UK.
That's Bob Livesey, who's managing director of a company called Egger, which provides work for over 1,000 people. They're among 9,000 people who depend on the wood panel industry for their livelihoods at 7 plants across the UK.
It's a relatively simple process. We take a wood fibre, which is, in the main, it's small round wood, which is harvested during the process of taking timber for sawmilling, so the smaller round wood and the thinnings. We then use the byproducts that sawmills generate, shavings, sawdust, etc., which we again consume in our process. And then finally, the major product, which is a growing one for us now, is recycled wood waste as well. We would typically use around about 40 to 60% of our material within the industry would come from a wood waste stream.
So basically, the wood panel industry takes waste wood from sawmills and recycled furniture and pallets and turns it into chipboard and MDF, which finds its way into our homes. At the moment, I'm sitting at my kitchen table, which is made of chipboard. I get out my kitchen cabinets, they're all made from chipboard. My worktop here, and if I look down, even my floor, which is laminate, that is made out of wood panel and then obviously covered with a surface. Now, if I go into the next room, I've got children playing with a jigsaw, and that's also made out of wood panel. Now, most of the wood panel in my house is probably manufactured in this country. About 60% of wood panel used across the UK is made domestically.
We're finding now, with the incentives that's being given by the government to the major power generators, we're now seeing an increase in demand for our traditional materials, and that is driving up the price of those materials to ourselves. Over the last 18 months, we've seen prices rise to somewhere in the region between 40 and 50%. We would anticipate that wood prices could go up by around about another 100% to where they are today.
And what will that mean for the wood panel industry?
Well, our business is very simple. It takes the wood and it sticks it back together again. So, if we see that level of increase, then we would be looking to pass on that sort of level increase through directly to our customers.
We take basic raw chipboard and raw MDF on which we bond to it exotic veneers to create the products that we manufacture to sell into the sector.
Chris Williams is Managing Director of Ebercraft Limited in York. His family-run business has been going since 1895 and today employs 36 people making high-end office furniture.
Over the last 12 months on both raw chipboard and MDF, we've seen price increases in the order of 20 to 25%, which from a small business's point of view is quite significant when you bear in mind that our particular manufacturing, 20% of our input costs are chipboard and MDF. We have seen price increases, on a week-by-week basis for MDF.
There seems to be widespread consensus that furniture prices will rise. The head of the British Furniture Association predicts increases of between 5 and 10% in the prices of kitchens at the lower end of the market as a direct result of the subsidies paid to the energy companies. Anne Maguire, the Labour MP for Stirling, wants to see an end to those subsidies.
I think it's fair to say that it is an unintended consequence of what is essentially a good policy initiative, which is to ensure that we reduce our carbon emissions. It has disadvantaged a significant industry, and an industry which frankly is important to many rural communities across the UK. But essentially what we are looking at in the UK is that if we take 3 companies' proposed electricity plants at the moment, development, which are 3 big ones in Tilbury, in Port Talbot and in the Forth area of Scotland, these companies would consume in fact, over 15 million tonnes of wood, which is the entire UK wood harvest, including recovered wood. In other words, using wood that can be used for other things. We should be seeing wood as a raw material that can be used and recycled before it is considered for burning.
Even if the government scraps this subsidy, there's still going to be a problem, isn't there, of wood being traded as an international commodity, and the demand across the world is going to increase. So is there much that the UK government can do about that?
Well, I think what we can do is deal with our own house first. You're right, there is an international issue here, but what we have within our own grassroots now is the ability to make a decision which will actually help the current panel industry in the United Kingdom.
This is BBC Radio Wales.
About 600 staff will protest today at what they call unfair subsidies for the production of biomass energy. Now,
back in October, workers at Kronospan's wood panel plant in Wrexham in Wales held a day of action to protest about biomass subsidies. The Wood Panel Manufacturers Association has been lobbying the government to drop the subsidies for nearly a year, but any change of policy looks unlikely. According to Greg Barker, the Minister for Energy and Climate Change, the answer to the problem is that we should increase the domestic supply of wood to meet demand.
I don't think this is a zero-sum game. We only use a fraction of the available woody biomass. Currently, far too much of our woodland, because it's not economic, is just left unmanaged. And if we can change that, not only will it be good for our economy by helping to decarbonise the energy sector, it will actually have a good environmental impact on the landscape and on our woodland. We're not looking to slightly increase the supply. I want a really big increase in the amount of native wood available. I certainly don't want to suck in unsustainable imports from the other side of the world.
Not everyone is convinced we can increase our domestic supply of wood so dramatically. It's estimated that the proposed power plants will need between 40 and 50 million tonnes of wood a year to operate. At the moment, the UK has a total supply of 16.5 million tonnes of wood a year from forests and waste. According to the Forestry Commission, the maximum additional wood available is under 3 million tonnes, and not all of that suitable for burning anyway. That leaves a shortfall of between 20 and 30 million tonnes of wood a year. RWEM Power's plant at Tilbury in Essex will become the UK's biggest wood-burning plant when it comes into operation later this year, and that will be running on imported wood pellets. But wherever the wood comes from, increasing prices will remain a problem for wood panel and furniture manufacturers. So will the government consider offering the wood panel industry subsidies to create a level playing field?
We will be consulting over the summer, looking at all of these ideas. We haven't closed our mind yet to this, but the bottom line is the reason that we have these incentives in the first place is to try and change the amount of biomass that's available, and just sticking with the status quo is not an option.
Greg Barker, the Energy and Climate Change Minister, ending that report by Shamini Selvarajah.